Bom dia. Então, para as pessoas que não me conhecem, sou Aidan Connolly. Morei aqui no Brasil durante alguns anos. Então, o Brasil é meu segundo país. Certamente meu país favorito após a Irlanda. Agora, tem muito brasileiro na Irlanda, então podemos praticar meu português também na Irlanda cada vez que eu quero tomar um cafezinho com vocês. Mas é claro também, nós temos duas filhas que se nasceram aqui em Curitiba. Então, curitibanos, então outras mulheres paranenses também em nossa família. I would like to make a presentation, desculpe, preciso falar em inglês. I'm going to make a presentation in English to give you a sense of the perspective of myself as president of IFAMA and hopefully the purpose and reason for IFAMA. We don't need to explain to you that there is going to be no more sun, no more water, no more land. So what we do with the land that we have is critical. We are talking about the need for more food. We're also talking about the fact that the people who live here want to live better. So the increase in the production of the world is fundamental, and Brazil is a huge part of that. Brazil is one of the few places with the sun, the water, and the land we need. I'm also here to tell you the future is better than you think. Read this book that came out some years ago, Factfulness, talking about some of the great statistics about agriculture. As people have gotten wealthier, their diets have improved, their happiness has improved. The progress that we've seen in terms of the ability to reduce some of the worst things about being a human has been tremendous. And agriculture is a huge part of this. We've managed to lift the world from extreme poverty, should I say a large percentage, reducing the numbers of people on level 1, that is at extremely low levels of income, and gradually increasing the size of the middle class, increasing the size of the people who have enough wealth to come to conferences like this and listen to people like me. We're also seeing some extraordinary impacts on fertility. We talk about how big the world population will become, but as we have allowed the education of all females, as we've increased the availability of family birth control, as we have increased the ability to live the life you want, we've also seen people choosing to have smaller families, and it's increasingly, look, these are some United Nations numbers, that the population of the world may peak much lower than we expected, perhaps even at 9.4 billion. That's a different problem to the problem we've been speaking about in the past. Globally, employment, less and less people working in agriculture, which means we need to find smarter people because the jobs we're doing are becoming more and more sophisticated. The output of agriculture is increasing. We just heard from Embrapa the tremendous success that's occurred here in Brazil through research. Clearly, productivity continues to grow. And technology is going to be a huge part of what that looks like. So the world is getting better, agriculture is getting smarter, and we're going to need to be able to use less resources to produce that food. If we want to get more food, I know a lot of people are very pessimistic. You can tell I am optimistic because we need to improve agricultural productivity by 1.8% a year. We have seen that those improvements in productivity in milk production, in corn production, in coffee bean production. Every form of agriculture continues to advance, probably on average by almost 2%. We also see huge amounts of spending continue to be devoted into agricultural research and food aid. I'm not here to say we should not provide food aid, but the people in this room produce tremendous results through agricultural research when given the funding to do so. So trying to find more and more money to go into the programs that IFAMA runs, the programs that the FAO runs, to develop human talent within agriculture is going to be essential. Again, I read newspapers saying that subsidies and trade wars and the problems In fact, the subsidies for agriculture continue to decline to historically low levels. It's not the full story, of course. There are other ways to give subsidies, but the realities are the world is not as bad as sometimes you would believe reading some of the newspapers that we read. And we see the ability to produce more food on less land. So again, these are United Nations numbers showing that we probably are at an inflection point where the amount of land being used is less and less. We have serious issues. Ruminant animals in particular produce large amounts of gases. There's lots of arguments over the ability to produce meat, milk, but even things like chocolate can have an extremely high carbon footprint. These are questions the world is asking. We have to have answers. But global yields continue to increase, and if you want to reduce the carbon footprint of beef production or of milk production, increasing productivity is the best way to do it. More productive farms have a lower carbon footprint. So again, that's very important when we think of the success of places like Brazil. They call it the miracle of the Cerrado, which was led by Embrapa, but led by many of the people here in this audience. This area has become extraordinarily productive, and as we heard in the academic symposia, also respecting the microflora, the fauna, the environment, through the ways in which we're advancing. So meat and milk consumption continue to grow, and this is an editorial from the New York Times saying, productive farms are not what everybody wants. We don't like to think of intensive farms being the solution, but in order to attain lots of what we want, better welfare for animals, lower carbon footprint, cheaper, more affordable food, intensive agriculture is the solution. Now let's talk about how we make intensive agriculture better. Technology can help. We know that it's a dynamic, ever-changing world. We know that our industry, maybe like the taxi companies that didn't see Uber, or the movie companies that didn't see Netflix, or the banks that thought you needed to have a building, we also in agriculture need to change. So precision agriculture will come from precision technology. And we know from looking at healthcare industry, we need to become customer-centric. We need to think about the outcomes, cost-effective. It does not mean less people. Technology does not mean less people, but it does mean people that are smarter, more educated, and know more how to use the technology. The survivors in agriculture will be those who adapt fastest. So this is like the dinosaurs. If we don't adapt, we'll find ourselves left behind. And there's a hype cycle that describes how many of the technologies coming to farming, we talk too much about vertical farming. It receives a lot of funding. Now it seems as though nobody wants to invest in it. The funding levels have gone down dramatically. We've talked about cellular meats. Again, there was a large hype. Now it appears that the money is not there to produce meat using cells. But we have great ideas around maybe combining solar technologies with livestock, what they called agrivoltaics, maybe growing crops underneath the solar panels. This is extremely exciting, where we combine the technology together with agriculture. Soft robots, instead of just using traditional robots, use soft robots. Oh, sorry. That was in a video of showing it picking up meat. And of course, as was mentioned at a breakfast I went to this morning, the importance of GLP drugs, reducing calorie consumption by 800 calories per person who takes this drug. Is this something we should think about? If 25% of the people start to consume or use these drugs, it will change our food industry forever. What about your microbiome? They say, are we feeding ourselves or are we feeding the bacteria? Again, this is a very exciting area for places like IFAMA to engage in the debate about how do we think about what people eat and who decides what they eat. Artificial intelligence is probably the most thrilling and scary technology there is. I just conducted a piece of survey with 40 experts, 20 from food, 20 from artificial intelligence, and what I've learned both makes me excited about the future but also scared about what this can all mean. What I have learned is that, I'm using this acronym DRIVE. I'll talk about this afternoon. Talk about making your data good, running the right pilots, working from top to bottom, executing now. Probably the take home for me was, if you have not downloaded ChatGPT, do it today. If you don't know how to use it now and buy a better form of it, and practice how you produce prompts. This again is something I think for our students, for our MBAs, it's going to be as important for them to learn to use this technology as anything else they do. Why IFAMA? Well, the good news, I described it already. Agriculture is a big part, maybe much of the solutions that we're looking for can be found in agribusiness. And if you're in agribusiness, that means you can make a difference. You can be the person that makes the difference in the world by being part of this great industry. Today and tomorrow, we're going to see experts, innovators, unique network of thought leaders brought together by this unique organization that I have the privilege of being the president of. The key topics are all the key topics we need to be talking about. These are chosen very carefully by the organizing committee, by Professor Marcos, Professor Roberto. These topics, together with Catherine White from IFAMA, are the critical ones we need to think about. Your takeaways should be to list the actions you should take based on what you learn in the next 2 days. What do we need from you? We always need sponsorship to continue to run these events. Ireland will be very exciting next year. It will come with the involvement of international agribusinesses. We need more universities to be part of it. The case competitions are fantastic. 25 teams here competing at extremely high level. We'll run more of these case competitions and we will go regional. We want you to submit your ideas and your articles to the IFAMA Journal. We want you to take pictures of this event and share it on social media. And we want you to imagine with us a future that is exciting, that is better, and that has agribusiness at the centre. On behalf of IFAMA, thank you very much. I look forward to the next 2 days. Obrigado.